The target from space! Was that an asteroid or something? Yeah, it is. Hi guys, and welcome to a new episode on the channel. Today we're going to talk about the threat from space. So let's get started. Alright, this is an asteroid. So let's say that this is an asteroid and it's just impacted your Earth. Here is the Earth, and then here's the asteroid, and it impacting. Ready, set, go! And yes, that did happen. And it did happen all over the world. We don't know exactly where because back then there was no continents, so only lava lakes. And there was about a Mars-sized object. If the Earth was this size, then Mars would be roughly this size. It's about the same size as Earth, except it's just a quarter less than Earth, which this scale is pretty close. From this scale, it's pretty close. Now we know all about the Earth nowadays, but there are such things as Mars-sized bodies actually impacted onto the Earth itself while it's spinning at top speed. So let's say your Earth was spinning at top speed. Wait a minute, I have a better idea. Your Earth is spinning at top speed. And then an asteroid comes and destroys it. And it slows it down. More asteroids. And then it slowly just impacts it and it catches into the gravity. And then boom, and then part of it gets into its rotational axis. And you know what just happened? They created the moon. This is how the moon is thought to be created. But what if that actually did happen and it didn't actually go into the atmosphere and spin with it? Well, what if just impacted it? Or for a more serious question, what if the Earth was about this big? The Earth was about this big. And the asteroid was this big. Then it would be pretty much of a problem. It will just stop completely once it gets hit. Or it will start making a fire. And yes, that might happen, but it's really unlikely because asteroids aren't actually the size larger than the size of Earth. Only Jupiter probably is the only size more than Earth that we know for now in our solar system. But unless we want to make a fire with the asteroid and the Earth, well, you're out of luck because the asteroid is too big and it's in space. So, what can you do with an asteroid? Well, there's not much you can actually do with an asteroid and a very small Earth. But just to think that this is not actually reality, let's just say that about this scale, because this actually happened. It crashes in, but it doesn't bounce off into the atmosphere. It just stays there and merges into becoming part of the Earth itself. So basically, this globe should be larger by now. The same mass should be like this. So, I guess this doesn't really make sense, but it does happen. And let's say that thousands of years later, our Earth would be about the size of Jupiter. And then, about the size of Jupiter. And then, since about this Jupiter-ness, we are about the same size as Jupiter. Now that that's settled, there's still a lot that can happen here, and more of the bad things is that the equator might not be the hottest region in the world. Actually, it will be the hottest region in the world, but except that other regions in the world might have more deserts. And since the equator is going to be larger, it's going to be hotter and hotter. And because it is increasing heat, there's a lot that can happen. Firstly, it would spin slower. So if today's Earth spins like this, then the big Syria Earth would spin like this. And yes, just this fast. And if there was ever a solar eclipse, it would only match this size. The Earth in this thing, in the globe of this size. It would be the size of this little globe. About the size of a golf ball. Yeah. And what if this actually impacted here, but it only stayed on the surface, but never moved anywhere else? Like this, what you're experiencing on the globe right now. This is what happened. Let's say this actually happened. Then the laws of physics won't actually allow it, but it might happen. The laws of physics won't allow it, but in other universes, this might happen. So, what does this have to do with the threats from space? You know all about asteroids, and this is why I've been telling you a lot about asteroids. And once this impacts the Earth, it starts making a crater. Since the asteroid is going to be like that big, then the crater should be about this big. Not including this little triangle, but... So, that is how it might work. This is not a really exact measurements, so I just randomly guessed the measurements, but that might happen. So we have to save into the space orbit stuff. And now let's say that the asteroid was this big, but you had a spaceship that can deflect it like this. And so this is what you might do. You can get there and use a magnet, if it's partially magnetic, and attach it to your spacecraft. If it's too heavy, just fall to Earth. Just fall to the Earth. But if it's light enough, just go all the way over to the other side of the world if you have enough power, and then deposit it there. Or just better, deposit it somewhere near the moon. And then just go back to Earth, shrink size, and boom, you'll be happy again. Yay! That is how some people are actually trying to do their stuff to deflect asteroids. But there's another method to just slightly alter it. Just slightly alter the position and send it flying somewhere else. And just barely missing the Earth. So... But what if it really did hit and one of our spaceships didn't actually succeed in? That's what we're going to have to be warned about. This is for you to answer. This is your world. It's from you from now on. So this is where I'll end this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next episode. Shinhan out. Peace! Everything is a blur. Everything is a blur.